The log tax. The current system is progressive, meaning the tax rate increases based on fixed income brackets. The desired system is the flat tax, meaning one tax rate paid by all. The argument is the flat rate is a percentage and thus already progressive because the more you make, the more you pay. However, the intent of an increasing rate is similar to tithing, where the wealthy help the unfortunate. The rich can move around more freely than the poor, to gain more enjoyment of the public areas and services. The promoters of a flat tax also commonly support a VAT tax, which is a national sales tax. A progressive system has that built in, and promotes investment by the rich to avoid tax losses, thus more jobs for the poor. The wealthy are also more protected during economic downturns like a recessionary period. The goal of the log tax is to soften the progressive rate and pick up the benefits of a flat tax. The progressive system has many avenues of corruption for helping the uber-rich. For example, wage control, the middleman tax shelter, and foreign campaign donations, a government for sale. All designed to help the big companies by reducing competition from mid-size and startups. These three are detailed in the laundering videos on taxes, trade, and debt, available at ostrichize.com. Even the mortgage interest deduction is a laundering scam to help the banks who kick back into campaign coffers. This and all other special deductions must be removed from the tax code, which is an aim of the flat tax. It will take away a lot of power from politicians who can use the public treasury to promote their ideologies and careers, which is why they defend the convoluted progressive tax code. Both systems support welfare programs, and the more programs that exist, the more power politicians maintain. Standard divide and conquer tactics. The log tax will consolidate these into just one: unemployment insurance. The existing systems will be phased out over time. This is the current environment. Let's look at the guts of the log tax. From the lowest personal income to the highest corporate profit, the log tax is a single system that applies to all as a flexible template rather than a rigid bracket system, which gets used to pretend middle-class growth by simply changing the indirect equations governing the brackets, like a raise in minimum wage, but no change in the brackets. The log tax applies a minimum 10% tax on the last 4 digits of the adjusted income. This is the tail portion. The first digit is the head and counts as is. All remaining digits are the body and count as 10% each. Add all three with a coefficient modifier applied to the head and body, and the final federal tax rate is produced with a range of 10 to 30%, no exceptions. Now I mentioned adjusted income. There is one deduction to protect the poor, but it is applied to all. The poverty line for an individual is $10,000 and $50,000 for a business. This section illuminates and closes a massive tax loophole in the current progressive system and not addressed by the flat tax. Let's walk through an example based on the average U.S. income and a 50% rate coefficient baked into the form. The gross income is entered and the individual deduction applied to produce the adjusted income. This number is transferred to the worksheet boxes and the last 4 numbers are X'd out. The first digit is registered and all leading boxes are X'd out along with the first digit. The coefficient is then applied. All remaining digits are counted and multiplied by 5. The logarithmic tax rate is the summation of fields 6, 7C, and 8B. It is entered into field 9 and again into field 10 if it is less than 30%, which is the maximum rate. The tax rate is applied to the adjusted income to compute the owed amount. The rate is drastically lower for the middle class. The rich can no longer hide their income and will pay their fair share. Their only method of avoidance is investment, therefore creating more jobs. And yes, the poor pay taxes. They now have skin in the game, which is the tenet of the flat tax. Now they have a reason to say no to more government spending because it generates a higher tax coefficient and affects them too. The form is completed by filling in the oath section with the filer's identity information. Now for that loophole. In the current progressive system, the individual can form a foundation. Sound familiar? The charitable foundation shelters the individual's income from taxation, and the charity is 90% devoted to the individual's needs, while 10% might go to their special interest designed to bring in more donations to the foundation. The log tax caps the business deduction to $50,000. The rich could manage many charitable foundations, but it makes the attempted tax dodge obvious and prosecutable, similar to structuring, which is a federal crime. However, it is legitimate to have multiple businesses for distinct services along with your foundation. Just be prepared to prove it. Having a single foundation for an individual to use as a tax shelter is a good thing. This is their retirement 401k. This is their emergency medical, an education fund, unemployment protection, a family safety net, or just a much-needed vacation. The log tax teaches fiscal responsibility and returns power to the people. You decide how your money will be spent, and it provides security in times of emergency. You also don't pay for other people's charitable donations, which end up raising taxes to cover the shortfall of the deduction. You choose where your hard-earned money will be spent. Even churches are not exempted. Separation of church and state means the state cannot force a specific religion on you, nor does it give you freedom from religion. Further, it does not mean the church is tax-free. They sold their voice to the state for that privilege, something the left exploits to attack the right in their left-leaning church sermons. The right is too cowardly to prosecute. The log tax gives the church back their voice. For thousands of years, welfare was the responsibility of the family, to include neighbors, club memberships, and churches, not government. Social Security was intended to help families who lost children in war, and thus lost that family safety net due to their sacrifice. It was not supposed to be a retirement plan. To learn more about the war on God and the attack on the family ideology, watch the Laundering People video. You will be surprised how even you can be laundered. The log tax flushes the evils out of the current progressive system and incorporates the honorable goals of the flat tax by finding a middle ground between the two.